Welcome. I'm Dee Perry, and welcome to the official podcast of the Cleveland International Film Festival, CIFF Speaks. I'm joined by my producer, Aaron Spears. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, hello, film fans.
And as the festival is winding down, I'm thinking we talked about memories of earlier festivals, but at this one I've been making new ones, and one of my favorites is sharing a film with my brother Kevin. He went to the film festival last year, and so this year he was looking forward to the catalog and picking out something that we could both see together, and we ended up watching Mia and the White Lion, and it was about conservation, it was about family, it was about global perspectives on conservation as well. And it was just a great memory sitting in the theater with him and knowing that he chose this as an activity we could do together. So there was that personal communal experience and also the movie communal experience, sharing it with people you never would have been in the same space with if they hadn't come to the film festival. So I love it for that reason.
Sounds like you got him hooked.
Yeah.
For that last year? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. Now, I know there are tens of thousands of people who are hooked on the festival of what's going on there, but there are other things going on in the community at the same time.
That's true. I would say probably two heads up. As we go into the second and final weekend of the festival, that always, maybe I'm just always tired and exhausted, but it always feels like there's just more people at the festival. But then also in addition to that, there is a Cleveland Indians game today at 4:10 p.m. So as always, just avoid the headache, RTA, Lyft, get yourself down right to the front door. Don't have to worry about parking or anything. Just come down and enjoy the films.
Sounds good. And some special guests who are enjoying the films, but also are here as part of an organization called the Film Festival Alliance. Cara Ogburn and Lela Meadow-Connor, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I wanted to mention that you spent many years with the Tallgrass Film Festival in Wichita, Kansas, and you're now the executive director of the Film Festival Alliance, which began about 9 years ago as part of the Independent Filmmakers Project. Why was there a need for an organization like the Alliance?
Well, there was actually no professional organization, that gathered film festival organizers and professionals and programmers. And the Alliance was founded by a group of those people at the IFP who realized that this needed to be a thing. There was no gathering place for people who did what we do in the exhibition sector of the industry. So they started a gathering at the IFP, and then as the organization grew, it partnered with the Art House Convergence, which is an annual gathering of art house cinemas that takes place before Sundance. And I think it was 6 years ago that I first attended. I can't remember. It's all a blur. And so this will be going on our 7th year, partnering with them in 2020, where we do a conference in conjunction with the Art House cinemas. And there's more than 600 delegates from film festivals and cinemas from around North America, around the world, actually. And it's just a really wonderful gathering place. What we all do is so siloed in our communities often, unless we're in New York or LA or in some major metropolitan city. And even in those cases, people can be siloed in what they do, because there aren't that many other film organizations or even just the arts. The various arts organizations individually do different things. So it's a really necessary thing for us to come together and share best practices and share triumphs and failures and challenges and all of that stuff.
Cara Ogburn, you are the director of the Milwaukee Film Fest, also education director for Milwaukee Film, and a board member of the Film Festival Alliance. That's a lot of hats. But the one I want to start with is having you talk about what the Film Festival Alliance has, what impact it's had on you and on the Milwaukee Film Festival.
So the Milwaukee Film Festival, we celebrated our 10th year last year, and have been attending Art House Convergence as well as with the Film Festival Alliance for quite a few years now. I think, to sort of echo what Lela said, it's really the one chance we have to talk to people who do what we do. In a city like Milwaukee, there are other festivals, and they're, smaller than us, and we work with them to the degree that we can, but to really be able to talk to peers that are a little bit similar in budget and scope and scale, as well as to be able to talk to aspirational peers and learn from them. One of the big things that we've learned from our peers is that and I know you may want to get to this in a later question, so I'm ruining your plan here, Dee, is that about 5 or so years ago, we determined that our bottom line could be improved if we had a cinema of our own. And so we set on a path to sort of figure out, like, well, what would that look like? And last year, along with our 10th anniversary, we took over operation of a historic art house cinema in Milwaukee. 3 screens, the biggest one holds about 1,000 people, and reopened that in August. So now we're both an art house and a festival. And the convergence between those two things is a really interesting one at the conference in January, because there's similarities and differences in what we do in film exhibition that are great to hear about.
Has that changed your approach to programming? Since I know it's you said that you took over in this past summer, the Oriental Theater?
Yeah.
Has that changed your approach as you're planning festival year after year now, like since you have access to that year-round venue?
So, for 10 years, Milwaukee Film as a festival has, brought a lot of films to Milwaukeeans that otherwise wouldn't get there. Milwaukee has only a few theaters that are showing kind of art house, international, documentary, independent content. So the festival was a place that kind of expanded that scope. With the cinema, we are even further wider. And I think long term that may evolve our festival, hopefully slowly and over time. But it gives us an audience to an opportunity to kind of build that audience to grow their, kind of edges of what they like, edges of what they'll, experience, an opportunity for discovery.
Lela, Cara has touched on some things that have changed in Milwaukee as a result of the film festival. I wanted to have you expand on that more and talk about what you've seen film festivals bring to communities.
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. Film festivals are so important to communities, and I think that the impact that they have is amazing. And I think that people tend to think of the legacy arts as being, the ballet and the art museum and all of these sort of traditional cultural institutions as being, at the forefront of that. And I think that film often gets left behind, and especially independent film, people see it as, especially maybe in places that aren't on the coast, that people see it as something. Why are you fundraising to show movies? We just, go to see something in the multiplex, and, we hear about how many millions of dollars that makes. So what is this? And it's also the education of what is a film festival. But when people come to the theater and they experience what a film festival is, and artists are coming in from different parts of the country, and they're getting to talk to these filmmakers, and they're seeing films that they would never get to see otherwise. And we're curating these films especially for these audiences, and we're matching the artists with the audiences, and that is what a film festival does. Not to mention the impact it can have on local businesses and the cities and the tourism. There's just so many ways that film festivals impact as arts organizations.
On that note, when festivals first started back in the 20s, 30s, there were a handful of them, big ones in Europe, and now there seem to be thousands across the U.S. and North America. I'd like to have each of you, Cara and Lela, think about what's driving that growth.
Well, there are, I think, around 3,000 film festivals across North America, and I'm sure many more the world over. And as our friend John Gant always says, there's 3,000 film festivals and 2,999 ways to run them. So, every festival is different. Every festival is circumstantial, based on their community and their budget. But I think that one of the things that I see, everything's changing in the exhibition world with streaming and VOD and all of that. And cinema culture is changing. And, there's a demographic of people who are my age, who grew up going to the movies and then grew up going to Blockbuster. And those were outings. And now my children, they're just looking through the Netflix queue. And I don't like that. And, I think that one of the really great things, and CIFF does this so well, is instilling that love of cinema in people. And there's nothing like that, going into a dark theater and the imprint of, having that film experience. And I think that's a really important thing that film festivals can do. And also I think that film festivals are inherently eventized. So they're coming with a Q&A or a panel or a filmmaker or a free beer or something that's driving people to get out of their homes. So again, it's that idea of not just sitting at home watching a movie, you're going to do something.
It's also the limited number of shows and limited access to it too that kind of helps make it feel like an event too. As somebody who works full time in an art house theater, like you hope for that 4 shows a day, 7 days a week, you'll get a crowd out. But when you do sort of the one-off special events, people are like, I got to go that day because it's the only time I have access to that experience, like you said.
I mean, I think to sort of add on, I think the proliferation of content is fueled by technological advances. Like we all have a video camera in our pockets right now. You could take it up, you could pick it up, you can make a movie. It might not be great the first time, but if you keep doing that, it's going to improve, it's going to get better, and somebody's going to want to see that story. And they may want to see it in a communal space, and the festival allows you to have that, as do cinemas, art house cinemas, and thinking about the fact that not everything needs to be, here are the 5 movies that every theater in this country is showing all weekend long, but what else is there? What else might I want to see your experience?
What are some pressing issues that the Film Festival Alliance is addressing now and that you're looking to delve deeper into in years to come?
I think a lot of the issues stem around diversity, of course, and diversifying not only our body of festival professionals, but diversifying the festival organization, the membership itself, to include more niche genre festivals, because there's so many more of those popping up because they're specialized to a specific audience. And I think that that's something for me that's really important to do. We're always looking at ways to work with filmmakers in a better way and for them to help them understand how the festival process works. And, when we take a submission fee, it's not like we're sitting there cashing the check. That is going to, pay the lights or turn the lights on and pay the bills. And that sort of continual educational process is really important to us. One thing that, a few years ago was really seemed to be a big issue was this whole Netflix and VOD thing. But actually, as time has passed over the last couple of years, it seems to be less and less of an issue because, again, when you're eventizing something, if you're showing a film that's on Netflix and you bring in a cast member, you bring in the director, you bring in somebody who's an expert on the subject, I've seen those screenings sell out when, it's amazing. So I think that those are sort of a couple of the things that we're working on within the industry is really parity and diversity. And just making sure that the pipeline for filmmakers to reach festivals is available.
And on that same note of the future, Cara, I'm a huge proponent of getting kids hooked on cinema and cinema of the world in particular. And I wanted to talk about the fact that Milwaukee Film seems to have that goal. What sparked that passion for you?
Well, I mean, even from our founding, before I was even involved with the festival, one of our founders were very passionate about education alongside exhibition and really thinking about Milwaukeeans from, maybe like toddler on up as the audience, right? So who are they and how do we get them to find those films that are important for them? So, we very similarly to CIFF, we're showing films in a public space starting at age 3. This starts to feel real similar. Doing screenings for school groups. We have education screenings for grade bands, 1st through 3rd, 4th through 6th, 6th through 8th, and 9th through 12th throughout the festival. And now year round, now that we have a cinema to hold them in, pack that 1,000-seat house full. There's nothing better than watching a shorts program with 1st through 3rd graders. And when they see a butt on screen, we all laugh. And that communal moment, that is the moment that gets you wanting to go to a theater regularly, wanting to go to a festival, wanting to laugh with others and have that kind of emotional moment. We also, wrap it with a lot of tools for teachers. We build a curriculum packet that they can then use in their classrooms. And I hear from particularly 1st through 3rd grade teachers that those short films come up through the entire school year.
Nice.
The festival's at the beginning of the school year. It helps them sort of reference characters or plots that then think through their print literacy and other kinds of academic work. And the high schoolers get other kinds of things out of these experiences. This year, we showed Minding the Gap, and one of the subjects of Minding the Gap was there. And I was on stage, and I was like, I'm clearly not the coolest person on this stage, and that is fine. I do not skateboard. I do not have a good Snapchat game, but they all started following him on Snapchat.
Nice.
I'm wondering how much time either of you have had to explore the Cleveland International Film Festival in terms of just seeing films and experiencing the communal atmosphere?
This is my first time here for the festival, and my first time to Cleveland, actually. And I got here on Wednesday, and I'm blown away by this ship that they operate here. It's amazing. One thing that really stands out to me is I love how everything is right here. I think it really is a wonderful way to be able to like just go from film to film, and you can go grab lunch, you could go to the casino if you need to win a little money, But like it's just so cool that everything is centered right here. I also was just blown away by going to a Norwegian film yesterday morning at 9:20 a.m. and it was packed, with a really diverse audience. And to me, that's just amazing. In a Midwestern city, I see again it goes back to that importance of film festivals. It's like the amount of international cinema that comes here. And the audiences that are so hungry for it is mind-blowing. And it speaks to how important film festivals are in showcasing, lenses from all around the world and allowing people to experience what life is like in other places.
Well, I was lucky enough to be invited as a juror last year. So this is my second year. And last year, really, there's so many similarities between the festivals, differences as well. We're not all in one space, but I think seeing the audiences is really exciting for me, and not just the enthusiasm, which is clearly there. And you have an incredibly devoted audience base. I'll invite you all to Milwaukee in the fall if you want to come up. Feel free. The Midwest hospitality carries over in the experience of the jurors and the guests. We feel really welcomed. But those audiences also feel like they reflect Cleveland. Cleveland as a city, very similarly to Milwaukee, is one that has a wide range of demographics that you want to see coming out to the festival. Festivals sometimes are challenged at accessing that audience. But I'm seeing that growth here and getting inspired by it, and we're doing some of that work. We can be doing better. We're still doing better. But, kind of seeing that is really inspiring and exciting for me as well.
It's one of my favorite festival aspects. I think Dee and I discussed it on a previous podcast, or maybe it was in person, I forget, that it's a cultural event that gets out all kinds of wide demographics too. It's not just, one specific pocket of a group going to, this exhibit or this performance somewhere else. Like, it's just such a wide variety based on the just sheer number of films and the diversity within the lineup. Yeah,
and I think that speaks to film as being such an accessible form of media.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why so many festivals do such a great job of partnering with other organizations within their community, with the ballet or with the symphony. And, I think those legacy art organizations look to film festivals because they typically have the cool, hip audiences.
Right.
And how can we, use film to draw in other, arts.
And finally, I'm curious how the choice happens for the location for Regional Roundtable. Why was CIFF the choice this year?
Well, we just started the Regional Roundtable program last year, and we started using festivals where we had board members who ran those festivals, just so that we could pilot the program for 2 years. And had the infrastructure there already. And, Patrick said, how about CIFF? And I was like, this sounds amazing. So just the access to like behind the scenes of how this festival operates and bringing together festivals from the region like Milwaukee, like Heartland, like Hell's Half Mile, like Cinetopia, but also we have festivals from Nevada and California and Florida. And it's just so cool to have everybody converge and allow people to, like Cara said earlier, it's not always easy to get to Utah in January and then go to Sundance. And then, so moving the location around is really important to us.
Well, it was really important to us to have both of you here today. Thank you so much, Cara Ogburn and Lela Meadow-Connor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us, Cara Ogburn and Lela Meadow-Connor. Great pleasure having you with CIFF Speaks. And now, Aaron, it's time to speak on the film forum for today.
It is. Film forum today is Joseph Pulitzer, Voice of the People. It is showing at 11:10 a.m. Joseph Pulitzer, very well known. He's a champion of the working people and immigrants, especially being an immigrant himself. He used the success of his newspaper, The World, to give voice to the voiceless, and he's essentially, created news as we know it today. And the topic for today's film forum, the discussion afterwards, is what is the value of a free press? As always, we keep keep mentioning with these film forum topics, very timely.
Yeah,
all the time.
Exactly right. On the note of timely, a timely and efficient way to get to the Cleveland International Film Festival is RTA and Lyft. As a matter of fact, they're the easiest ways to arrive in style at CIFF43. All RTA trains and many bus lines provide direct service to Tower City Center, and our official rideshare, Lyft, offers discounts for existing customers. To keep up with everything CIFF, visit clevelandfilm.org, follow CIFF on social media, or use the CIFF app. Thanks for listening to CIFF Speaks.